Welcome back to Mad's World. Today I'm joined by the lovely Bec Syed.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really, really good.
Oh, that's good.
How are you?
I'm good. I actually am kind of hot. Like, I feel like it's a really hot day and I'm like under these lights. I'm just feeling like a real sweaty gal.
I'm really nervous, and that's like, even if it's like minus 20 degrees, I'm still sweating.
Oh, well, I just started sertraline a few months ago, so I'm sweaty like all the time. So we're good. Tell me all about your career so far. It's been an unconventional one. You've had bankruptcy, you've had entry-level jobs, and now you're co-hosting She's on the Money, which is insane, and congratulations. But just like, tell me what's been the wildest part of all of that.
First of all, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you to say.
For the bankruptcy thing.
Especially the bankruptcy thing.
Job.
Awful, just always a drop kick, and I was like, oh, that's gorgeous. Thank you
so much. The nicest thing anyone's ever said.
So nice. I think that it still kind of feels weird, but I definitely I did go to uni, but I didn't finish anything. So I don't have any qualifications. I don't have any special skills. I don't have any special interests. I just I don't know why I'm here right now. I don't know how I got here. But I would always, work entry-level jobs because there's no problem with that, but that's like a kind of all I could get. And then when I kind of like one day just nutted it out. Is that
that's a
really
thing.
Gross way to say that?
No, like using your brain.
Yeah,
your brain's your nut,
the brain,
not the nuts.
Yeah, for possibly like the first time I was like, I'm gonna stop masturbating and think.
Yeah,
and so but I would always do that. I would always be like, I need to sort my life out, and then it took me like 28 years to actually do that. And so
same.
Literally
same. I don't even have it sorted out now. I'm just all I do is this.
Totally. But then it really made me realize, like, I think we will do something when we're ready to do it. And it's okay if you don't do it earlier or later, whatever. It's like you do it when you're ready. But I thought, like, I need to figure out what area I want to work in and just, like, start from the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was, like, lucky enough. I don't have kids. I don't have a mortgage, obviously. Like, I probably never will have one. And then I thought, media is where I want to be. So I started on the reception desk at ARN.
Yep.
Can I say ARN?
You can say ARN.
And I just like made friends with people. And I was very, those people that like they want to climb. And you can tell that they're connecting because they want to climb.
Yeah.
And so I was conscious to not be looking like, because I didn't care. I just really was like, there are some people I really like here and some people I'm like, I don't really get along with. Anyway.
100%.
And so I got along with, in particular, the She's on the Money producer, and then told her jokingly in like a separate chat, like that I have been bankrupt, I'm always broke. And then she came back to me like a few months later and was like, hey, so great news. I told everyone that you were bankrupt and we want you to be on She's on the Money. I was like, that's
yay.
lovely. It's so great to know. And so, their co-host left and they're looking for someone. And I think like, and I don't mind this, but I think it's also a bit diversity higher, which is totally fine. Like I'll take it. It's what a world that we're living in, that like it's actually like beneficial to be broke and brown and gay and a woman.
Stunning.
But those are all the things that were once a disadvantage. Now,
amazing.
Powerful.
I was actually going to ask, do you think that your identity as queer and being a lesbian has impacted your career? Like, how do you think that has changed the trajectory of your career based on someone who might be straight?
That is a really good question. And they were actually, apparently, like, gay women make more than straight women. And this is like, I'm going to come around to my point, but I think it's like, firstly, the whole deep voice thing. No. I mean, I don't think I have a deep voice.
Oh, deep voice is in like literally having a deep voice.
Literally having a deep voice.
I thought this was like a TikTok trend that I didn't know anything about. And I was like, oh God.
I don't know TikTok trends. Probably I do, but way too late. And then, but I think that having a deep voice in some way makes you more
authoritative or something. Authoritative. Yeah.
So
I feel that.
And I don't have like very solid proof that is a thing.
Yeah.
That has worked in my life at all.
Yeah.
But I do know that I could be elsewhere if I'm not like saying I have a deep voice, because like people are probably listening like and watching me like, you sound like a little girl.
Like Paris Hilton when she's putting on that voice, like, hey.
Yeah. I think, and so, because my voice is so deep, but I think that probably has something to do with
I
it.
feel like that's true because this is so random. But last night I was watching I'm a Celeb, Get Me Out of Here. And I don't know her name, but there's a comedian on there and she's like a famous lesbian Australian comedian. And she had like quite a like deep, really confident voice. And they were going into this horrible challenge, which was like, you know, fucking alligators and snakes and spiders and all this stuff. And I was like, she's going to nail that. Like,
yes.
she is so confident. Like, she's going to be, and like, she was the biggest wuss in there. And I was like, oh my God, like, I've totally misjudged this person just purely based on her, like, confident, deep, and like, I guess quite, masculine kind of voice. Like, I feel like it really just put into my head, like, oh, she's going to kill this. And then she was so scared, but she did kill it in the end. So not saying she wasn't really brave, but she was really brave.
Whoever you are, we're not saying you were really brave. No, you were not really brave. You are really brave.
She was so brave.
In case she's watching us right now. But it can definitely be a Trojan horse sometimes, the deep voice. And even like looking masculine. I'm like, people are like, oh, maybe you are capable of fixing a light bulb.
Or doing
anything
or something.
Yeah. Oh, you can plumb.
Funny.
You look like you can plumb. But
I've never, ever been told that. Or no one has ever thought that about me.
Has anyone ever said to you, you look like you could plumb?
No, but I am actually seeing a guy at the moment that does plumbing. And he was saying
hot.
Yeah, it is kind of hot, but this next story is so not hot. But he was saying that he like was recently in a hole because like I think plumbers just like sometimes go in holes. And like, and there was like, there was a pipe that was open. And like every time he heard the toilet flush in the house next to them, they'd be like, and he's Scottish, he'd be like, oh, someone's done a fucking shite, and then a shit would come out of the hole.
No.
And all of the boys in the hole would be like, oh, bloody hell, there's a shite coming down the chute.
Why? How are people just like okay with this life?
This is honestly what plumbers, like I am completely in the camp of pay plumbers anything they want.
Anything.
I don't care. Like if we need to pay more taxes to pay plumbers more, fine. I'm not getting knee deep in shit ever in my life. I hope.
Well, someone's got to do it. That's so crazy.
I know, but just pay them anything.
Pay him.
That's the worst job ever.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh my God, that is actually an awful job. That's so funny that's just like, imagine like living a life where you're just like, a shit is coming my way right now. It's like human shit's coming my way.
Fly out of a little hole next to your head.
I don't think I'll ever, hopefully never see myself in a position where one, I'm getting like a shit is coming into my way, but also I'm like completely comfortable about it. You know?
Like, oh, that sucks. I would literally be traumatized. Yeah. So yeah, love that.
I don't know. But you know, I really appreciate it. Why did we talk about plumbers? Oh yes. Because, sorry,
it always does that.
It's a gorgeous sound.
It is kind of nice, but it lingers.
It lingers. I think I feel it. But no, so I don't think there's any like solid way, and I guess you know it makes sense. I can't really tell what life would be like if I was a little bit more
true.
feminine, which sucks to say because like it sucks that we're in a world where femininity
changes
is like,
people's like attitudes and stuff.
And so, but yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think that it has. I think that in some ways it probably has helped a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess you get to come on cool podcasts like this and talk about interesting things. Right?
Yes, love exactly.
That. Oh, I was going to ask you, what is your funniest date story? Because usually I open with this and it's just a Mads World classic and the people love it. What is your most chaotic or funniest date story that you've ever heard?
Okay, so I did read this and I know that like a part of me was like, I feel like I should probably make something up because the funniest story I have is like not even, it's very short.
It's okay, it's authentic.
And because I've only dated women, so I'm like, there's no...
Oh yeah, and it's usually weird men making the funny story.
That's it.
That is like so real.
You know, I'm like, I don't want to sound like a misandrist, but I have never dated a man, so I don't know. There's a world of potential out there.
Well, this is why I was so interested to ask you because I was like, I just don't know like what. I mean, I've had straight guys on the podcast before, and they've told funny date stories, but it's usually something weird that they did. Got too drunk and had to like go home early or something.
Totally. It's always like I feel like correct me if I'm wrong because I've never dated a straight man, but are they always pulling their own shit out of a toilet bowl because it got clogged? Does that happen? Does that happen a lot?
I don't know, but that did happen to a friend, and she told their story on the podcast. She was just seeing her boyfriend who like they weren't like fully together yet.
Yeah.
And then she did a shit at his house, clogged the toilet, and had to get it out, and she threw it out the window at the top of the toilet.
Yeah.
And then went out, and like he was like saying the next day he needed to like whip a snipper down the side of the house the next day. And like he hasn't done it in years, and she was like, what the actual fuck? So then she was like, can you go and get us Macca's, please, please, please? And then when he went, she like went down there to find the shit and like figure out where it was, and it was just deep in these long grasses, and it was just chaotic.
That's so fun. I feel like you can definitely just not know the shit is there. Like you could just be like, oh, that's like not, first of all, not say anything because there's no way to like kind of like decipher if is that human shit, is that like, and more specifically, is that the girl that I'm dating's shit? I think it is.
And it didn't come from above.
It came from above.
How did it get there?
And that's the girl's shit.
Yeah.
It's like it could be any species, it could be any person. Like that's so funny that she was like, no, he's gonna know. He's gonna know it's my shit.
He's gonna like somehow figure it
like
out.
She signed it first.
Yeah, and like she's like, if I see a shit, I'm not really looking at it that much. Like I'm not. I'll look at it and look away. Like I'm not gonna look and look and look and then go. I think.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like see like
shit.
Totally. Like maybe you guys ate something and like ramen, and then you're like looking through and you're like, okay, we ate ramen last night.
Like
this must be like there's no way. Like it's I think you're safe. I think you're okay to leave it.
The way the mind works though, you would not go through these thought processes. So have you had any questionable experiences at all in dating?
My friend had a date over one time and the toilet wasn't working, like it wasn't flushing properly. And so she said she had a few friends over and she was like, sorry guys, the toilet's not working, just like piss and like hold your poos. And then they're like, yeah, cool. And then
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then one girl that she was dating was like, oh, I didn't want to like clog the toilet, so I put my piss toilet paper into the bin. And then my friend was like, oh, that's so fine.
Yeah, like being in Greece or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was like, that's so fine. And then the next day she went to take the bin out and there was a shit in the bin. There's actual full shit in the bin. So
holy fuck.
It's impossible to know who did it.
Yeah.
But we're guessing it's the person who said, I put this toilet roll in the bin.
100%.
It must be them.
Yeah, because why else would you bring attention to it?
Exactly.
One time someone did a shit in my kitchen bin at a house party.
Really?
In London, yeah, because I was taking the bins out the next day and then you had to push it down a trash chute.
No.
And I pushed it down the trash chute with a broom and the bag broke and it was just a shit. And I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, who did, and I think because we had like 10 people sleep over, it was like that kind of house party. Like someone's just got up in the middle of the night, it's dark, they think it's the toilet and just shit in it.
Was there like toilet paper surrounding it?
No, because it was in the kitchen.
So they just shit, didn't wipe, went back to sleep.
It was a man, obviously.
Of
like,
course.
That's so,
I didn't want to say it.
I could never. A woman would never.
A woman would never.
Would never.
That's wild.
Yeah. In like contrast to worst date story ever, what do you think is some of the biggest joys of being in the queer community and being a lesbian, and then like opposing that, what do you think the biggest challenges might be?
I think that it's probably changed now because of the friendship group that I have. And I feel like the biggest, I'll start with the biggest joys actually. The biggest joys, I would say is, because when I hear my straight friends talking about men that they're dating, a lot of men that I have heard about who are, women that they're dating these guys, and they're either like, this is the thing, I think if a man is like putting in so much effort and super romantic and actually like on paper like a perfect person and perfect in real life, I think that we're so damaged by that also turning into a psycho. Like if they're so perfect, this because they're a psycho. Then now I'm like, that's a red flag. Like, really kind, really considerate, really all these things.
Like,
I'm like,
what is wrong with them? Yeah,
I've seen this before, and that's not going to end well.
This is the thing. It's like you need to like have a safety net if you're dating a guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of dating someone at the moment. I don't want to talk about it too much because I actually like him. But yeah, I'm sort of like, I don't know. I feel like I can't get off the dating apps and I still want to like talk to people because it's like I just want to have like, because you just expect everything to just turn to shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like every single relationship I've ever had, because I'm single, has turned to shit. Because it's like, I don't know. That's just like been my only experience.
Totally.
Yeah. But that's not to say that doesn't happen to lesbian people too.
Absolutely. There are definitely some bad women out there and bad queer people out there. But I think that the biggest thing is just like the feeling of like true equality and understanding.
That's so cool.
You know? And there's really no power imbalance. I'm sure there are in some cases where like maybe like there's a big age gap or someone's making a lot of money. Like I don't think that's really even plays a role in these kind of dynamics, but I'm sure it does somewhere. But I think that it's the true equality. It's like the communication mixed with really truly being able to understand each other's emotional journey.
Like the empathy is based on like your actual experiences.
And also like I think when you're like dating women, this makes it harder maybe during a breakup, but when you're friends with a woman and even if you're just like this, it's completely platonic, but you're so close, like that is, you're silly together, you get so excited to see each other, you're like, you have so much fun together. And I know that does happen in straight dynamics too, but in these like lesbian or queer dynamics, it's really the capacity to feel that connection is like a lot higher, I think, because it's like you really are just best friends who love to fuck, and that's such a beautiful thing. Do
you know what it kind of reminds me of? I saw this video, it was by the Inspired Unemployed yesterday, and it was like how when guys, this is such a like hetero relationship thing, like when guys are like, oh my God, I love you so much, like I don't even like hanging out with the boys, like and then as soon as the boys show up, they're just like bang, like out the way, they're just like, oh, and it's like two different people, whereas I feel from what you're saying, it's sort of like in a lesbian relationship, it wouldn't be that like polarizing dynamic where it's like, oh, I don't even like the boys, and then they're just like, will go off and come home at 2 a.m. after they said they'd be home at 10, and like
totally,
you know, it's sort of like, because you don't have to be two different people to like be respected by your friends.
Yes, exactly. And that's a big thing, is that like being like soppy. Is it soppy or sappy?
I think it's both.
Well, you know, being soppy and like affectionate and intimate and like all these like beautiful, loving, gorgeous things. I'm exactly the same with my friends. Like we'll kind of like sit around and like hold each other and like
it's nice.
and hold space for each other and all these like gorgeous things. And then when I go home to my gorgeous, beautiful girlfriend, it's the exact same thing.
That's so nice.
And so I feel like there's not that like jarring shifting of worlds.
It's like code switching. Like a lot of people do. I was talking to my friend in England about it because she's black, and she was talking a lot about, I think when Black Lives Matter movement happened, and she was telling us about it, it's sort of like the person that you're expected to be at work versus the person you're expected to be at home or like with your boyfriend or with like your family. It's like, how exhausting is that? And then on top of that, if you had like racially motivated code switching types as well, it's just like, God, being 100 different people all the time for all these different situations is just like so mentally taxing.
Totally. And then you're like, which one am I actually?
Yeah.
You know?
And like where do I feel safest? And like, even when I'm alone, like I feel like I act like a bit different than I would if someone, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's like, when am I truly relaxed? But then like you said, when are you truly yourself?
Yeah, exactly. That is so true. And so I think like that kind of would help to really be closer to yourself, being completely able and allowed to feel these things and like so I think that there's just like such a beauty and such so much magic in like female friendships, female relationships, and so, and like, you know, femme I should say, because you know, but I really do like that. But I think that the maybe the complications and like the difficult things about being gay, it's that thing of you know, and I think this is maybe something we're going to be talking about later. I don't know if I should, but I think when you go out with a partner, when me and my girlfriend are out, it doesn't really happen to us that much, which is very good, but guys will hit on the more feminine looking one, which is my girlfriend, and kind of like not have respect for the relationship, because it's like I get it. Like we do look like two friends because we get along so well and we are like so loved up. We could be two friends, we could be partners, we could be wives.
And heterosexuality is just like the assumed norm by like straight people.
Totally.
And have you ever had that moment when like a guy thinks he can turn you or turn your partner and it's like, it's just so cringe?
Yes.
Has that happened to you before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
How do you feel about that? Because I feel like I obviously have never experienced that, but hearing that, I've experienced it from like hearing my male gay friends saying that they could turn a straight guy, which I think is really problematic because it kind of normalizes that train of thought and that behavior when it's like something that marginalized queer people might experience a lot and it's super hard for them. But I've never like really spoken to a lesbian woman about their feelings on it.
Yeah.
You just assume that it would be bad, but
absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's annoying. I do think that most people are on a spectrum. So I can't I'm not like criticizing the thought that someone could be open to having straight sex or gay sex or queer sex, whatever. But it really does feel like, you know, when you're talking to someone and you just know you're not living in the same reality.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
That's how I feel with these guys. And it's like, there's a part of me that's like, I want to use this moment to educate you and be like, I'm actually gay because I am gay.
Yeah.
And
just like how you're straight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're straight because you're straight. And that's not what we probably have we both of us, you and I, straight man and gay woman, probably have the capacity somewhere, some way to be open to a different experience.
Yeah.
But that's not what this guy's talking about. I know that. And I'm like, should I use this as a learning? But I'm like, if someone is thinking that already, I'm like, I already know we're not living in the same reality. There's absolutely no potential for us to be connecting here in any way.
And also it's not your responsibility to educate people. Like,
yeah, that's true.
I feel like that was something as well that came out in the Black Lives Matter movement was like some of my black friends were like, honestly, can you guys just stop asking me? Like everyone I know that's white is asking me and this is just like so much effort and like I just can't be asked. And I'm like, do you know what? That is so fair enough. Like, Google it, you know, like
totally.
Just like go read a book, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not your job as like, well, like hypothetically, like a marginalized group to educate the masses on your experiences, unless you want to, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like people might assume like a certain level of responsibility, like, oh, things won't change if I don't make a difference. But it's like, God, people, like, if they're not educated on something, just fucking Google it.
I know. Or even, like, TikTok it. Like, there's someone somewhere that's, like, made a beautiful video and put it and, like, used all these analogies to help you understand. And, like, there's someone doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, if you don't want to read, if you don't want to, like, just go on TikTok. There's going to be something, you know? So there are more ways to figure it out. But, yeah, I think in that kind of situation where there's a dude that's like, well, why don't you like? Well, it's just because you haven't been with the right man.
Literally.
I think my only gripe is that I wish there was a really quick and easy way to make them feel like
to understand.
a bit of an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
And to understand ideally, but because I probably can't, I know that this kind of person probably isn't open to, I can already tell they're not open to anything else. I'm like, okay, well, the next best thing is make you feel a bit...
Make you feel stupid.
Stupid.
Yeah. Fair.
And I'm still trying to figure out the quickest and most effective way to do that, but I haven't figured it out yet. So.
Yeah. Well, let me know when you figure it out.
Yeah, I will. I
feel like everyone's been trying to figure it out for so long.
Totally.
This was something else I wanted to ask you because we were chatting about like some of the challenges in queer relationships. How do you think gender roles, like for traditional hetero relationships, play a role in lesbian relationships? Like, can you feel those gender dynamics coming into a relationship that has two women or a woman and a non-binary person maybe?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it kind of like does influence probably not all, but definitely in my relationship, all the things that I think aren't really that impactful to day-to-day life. Like, for example, when it comes to mental labor or mental and emotional labor.
Yeah.
And all the things that actually matter to, not actually matter, I shouldn't say it like that, but that really do matter when it comes to like mental health and happiness and well-being. that is, in my experience, completely equal. And there's no dynamics here where it's like I because I'm more masculine, I'm going to come home and sit on the couch and not put my shit away. And leave my shoes in the hallway. And I think that probably comes maybe down to like how we grew up, like women, girls, young girls kind of probably grew up feeling like they had to like cook and clean and all this kind of stuff.
Like all the traditional housewife type roles
all
that
the
you
domestic.
get thrust into. And as someone with ADHD, I listened to this fascinating podcast all about this, which was like saying how so many women who get diagnosed with ADHD later in life will like have no doubt experienced things like maybe they have a bad relationship with their kids, or they've had a divorce, or they've like struggled to like work and be a mother, because they get put into these like organizational household roles that like someone with untreated ADHD or doesn't have tactics to combat that or isn't medicated or whatever, it's severely impacted their ability to like be happy in all aspects of their life, because they can't do everything at once. And like those organizational admin roles, like doing school lunches every morning and like going to the gym and having a good relationship with your partner, like all these things, like it's just so challenging. So I feel like a lot of women are just automatically thrust into those household like at head of admin roles, you know?
Yes,
so
exactly.
Maybe if it's like two women, the admin's just like thriving.
Exactly, you know? exactly. And I don't want to like, I feel like ADHD is trending as we mentioned like off mic, but I think like it's like I don't want to be saying to everyone that I've got ADHD, because it's like, okay, well, who doesn't have it?
Yeah, honestly.
I'm like, no, but really it's been something my whole life, and I just like, first of all, haven't had the money to get the diagnosis, and then also like, you know, the actual admin involved is quite ironically like my worst nightmare. A lot,
genuinely.
Yeah. And so I know that but even with that, I know that there are things that I feel like are so mentally challenging for me, but I am also really aware that my girlfriend is bi and more like straight leaning, I would say. So I know that I know it sounds weird, but the chances of her ending up in a relationship where the balance is not equal, like she will be doing all the domestic duties and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, in the meantime, we might be together forever, we might not, but in this moment, in this time, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing excess, even if it's like extremely hard to like imagine myself cleaning something.
Imagine if everyone felt that way. Like life would be so good if everyone just did over and above what they should do. Like just 'cause if you love someone, you just should. That should just be like the baseline, I feel.
Yeah. That's so true, actually. So I think that to answer the question, what was the question again?
How do gender roles play out in lesbian relationships?
Yes. I think that in that way it's not really a thing, hopefully, for most gay or queer relationships. That's all very equal, which is lovely. And then I think also the same as like parenting stuff. I feel like parenting is very equal.
Yeah, true.
But when it comes to financially...
Yeah, this is something I wanted to talk to you about, because you did mention to me when we had a chat about it might just be like psychological, but like the idea that maybe the more mask woman in a lesbian relationship, and I guess that kind of means that there are gender roles present if we're assuming that there is always a mask woman and a femme woman.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
yes.
Maybe that's like something for the last point. But like the financial, not disparities, but just like the psychological idea that you have to be the key household earner or whatever if you're a mask, you know.
Totally. I really feel that. I'm trying to like unlearn that, because it is silly. Like, why are we doing this? There's no such thing as like the gender pay gap doesn't really, you know, exist if you're both the same gender.
Yeah, true.
And so I'm like, it kind of makes sense if you're like earning way more because you were afforded more opportunities and stuff, then sure, like pay for whatever you got to pay for. But in this relationship, I'm like, I don't need to be doing that. I don't need to be putting that pressure on myself. But I always do. I always feel like I've got to pay, and if she's paying, I like physically cannot watch it happen. So I'm like, I really want to unlearn that. But even like things like fixing things around the house and stuff like that, I'm like, I got to really quickly be good at this because I've never done this before and I now must. And I mean, not that she's ever expecting any of this. She's always actively telling me quite the opposite. So it's just the pressure I put on myself. So I feel like there are probably people that think that's a thing.
100%. Well, if it's a pressure that's put on yourself, I wonder if, I mean, that's definitely comes straight down from the patriarchy. But like,
yeah, totally.
But then it is interesting like how the gender binary just defines all those things. And then it's like, yeah, I just find it all really fascinating. And I find it fascinating and I feel like no one really talks about this. And I need to speak to like a non-binary person about this probably, but like how like the gender binary is kind like will come into play in the queer community in certain ways. Like trans women like knowing obviously they are a woman and then that sort of like that gender binary being obsolete for a non-binary person. Like perhaps it's just accepting that there are different genders and that you can, if you feel that you align with one, it's the same thing. I don't know. I feel like I explain that really badly, but I feel like the non-binary community suggesting that there is no genders at all, and then the trans community suggesting that there is more of like a rigid structure. It's sort of like, I feel like it's quite contradictory, you know, in certain ways.
I see what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying. I think that the thing is, if you do align with, and I'm also speaking for like non-binary people, and I'm not non-binary, but if you align with gender, and gender, when people say gender is a social construct, it's like every kind of everything is.
Everything is,
everything's just fucking arbitrary.
Money's just numbers on a phone.
Yeah, and like money is like someone had to weave a note together like at some point. Like it had to be invented. You know, like everything is like invented. Anything's just made up.
If the internet gets deleted, I'm broke.
Yeah,
it's all on there.
Yes, it's all just like made up shit. Like clothes.
So true.
Clothes were only. I don't know why I googled this, but clothes were only like I'm going to say quote unquote invented, but just kind of like needed for weather conditions like 170,000 years ago. And I'm like, you know, so everything just kind of like evolved from whatever, from somewhere, but it's like, it's all just arbitrary. But I think that if you are really aligned with a certain gender or you feel like you are a gender, then cool. And if you feel like you don't align with any of the genders that currently exist, it's kind of like, it's actually, I don't know why I said it's kind of like, because it's probably absolutely nothing like when you are like, I am not passionate about anything. It's like, oh yeah, because all these job roles are made up. Someone made these up at some point.
Oh my God, that's so real.
You know?
Yeah, it's like I can't find my hobby. That's just because people just invented hobbies. Like what the fuck is basketball?
Exactly.
Like I was watching tennis the other day and I was literally like, why is it 15, 30, 40 and then
why?
Like what the hell? Because I went to the Australian Open. I was like, I've never watched tennis, and I was like, why is it 40? Everyone's like, just is. I'm like, well, maybe they need to rethink these rules because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. They do need to rethink that. It's the most complicated thing, and then it goes back to 6.
Yeah,
or something like that.
No idea.
I don't have any idea, but no, I think Just really one thing on the gender thing. It's probably more prominent in very very obviously masc and femme. Lesbian relationships, but there is such thing as, have you heard of a chapstick lesbian?
No.
It's some combination of both. It's like you're both kind of mass, kind of femme. And I think in a
like verse.
Yes, like verse, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
If you're if there are two verses or 2 chapsticks, I think there's probably less of that like financial law. But I'm yet to be in one of those, so
interesting.
We had a
really good conversation as well about what was it? So like the physical intimacy side of relationships between lesbian women and bi women. You said that sometimes could be slower and like kind of take longer to take off. Do you think that could be due to like women's consciousness of predatory behavior and things like that?
Yes. This has been like such a thing for me and my friends, and I don't want to say everyone because I'm sure they were like really, really flirty and like really sexually empowered, like women who are comfortable making the first move. Yeah. But in my experience, I think because we're so aware of women being subject to like really predatory behavior and like being in a space where they're like over sexualized, like say you're on Hinge, you match with someone and they're immediately like hey, do you do anal?
Yeah,
and like
literally. Or be like, hey, by the way, I don't want anything serious. I just want to fuck. I'm like, you don't even know anything about me.
Yeah.
Like, I could literally have a million diseases and
Totally.
be like really weird and you don't even think I'm hot. Like,
totally. I could be stitched up down there.
yeah.
I could have absolutely no holes.
I could be a eunuch. Like, you literally have no idea. And they're just
No
like,
idea.
I don't want anything serious. I just want to fuck you. And you're like, do you though? Like, how do you know that?
Yeah,
like,
how do you know that?
Men will just fuck anything.
I know it's wild. It's wild.
So crazy.
Like, you don't actually know what I look like. I could have like one hair on my head.
Honestly, this happened to my friend the other day and she was like, wait, I just need to read it out because it's fucking funny. So my friend recently matched with this guy on Hinge and he goes, just being totally upfront and honest, I'm looking for a bit of fun and you're fucking gorgeous and I'd be keen. No stress if it's not your thing, just wanted to not waste your time if so. Like this face. And then she goes, thanks for being upfront. That's so fine, haha. I'm keen to suss the vibe and see how it goes, but I like fun. He goes, what you down for? Got Snap? Like Snapchat.
Yeah.
She goes, I do not have Snapchat, haha. He goes, okay, what you want to do? And she goes, why don't you tell me what you want? We can go from there. He goes, I'd love to fuck X.
Okay, well,
What? Like, you want to have some fun? The boy can't even fucking spell. Like, what?
Yeah.
Brother,
so unsexy.
Honestly, it's insane. And then she goes, yeah, babe, but how are we going to get there? And he goes, question mark? She goes, you want me? How are you going to get me? And he goes, by taking you.
By taking you? Okay.
Where? Like, on the floor,
you're
like, to the movies? Like, where are we going?
Yeah, like, did you just die? Did you finish your sentence or
honestly, and then
where did you go?
And then he unmatched her.
Okay.
It's like, oh, so she literally agreed to what he wanted.
Yeah.
She was like, yep, cool, like we can have casual sex. Like, just tell me like how you want to do this. He's like, I would love to fuck.
Okay, good. Well,
Cool, okay.
like just use a little bit more brain power.
Insane. Snapchat at this age is diabolical.
Yeah,
like
it's diabolical.
Just so embarrassing. And like, you'll like a guy, I'll be talking to him on Hinge and then he'll ask if I have Snapchat. I'm like, instant unmatched. Like, even if he's the hottest, nicest person ever, I'm like, that is so cringe.
Yes, there's something about it.
It's so, because it's just screaming like, I want to send you nudes.
Yeah,
I don't even have the app. Like, it's just mental.
Or it's like, I don't know if Snapchat still does this, but do they still have like disappearing messages?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's also why.
Yeah, so that he like, if he maybe has a girlfriend, she just like wouldn't see.
Yeah. Why Snap? Yeah, I'm the same. I would be like, I not only can I like not talk to you ever again, I need a burp.
No, go. Do a burp. Sometimes I leave the burps in on the pod because they're funny.
Okay, cool. Well, this one's going to be...
I like them.
It was internal. I don't know if it'll come through. Yeah, Snapchat, red flag.
What do you think about straight men using ethical non-monogamy as a concept to be a player?
It's lacking E in E&M.
Yeah, where's the ethics?
Where's the
Are the ethics in the room with us?
Yeah, seriously. But like, luckily, like, you know, I've never dated a man, so I don't, you know, luckily I'm not kind of been exposed to that. But I do think that communication and being emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent and all these things that is not like maybe typically super high with some men.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you do need these things if you want to be ethically
Yeah, and I feel like
non-monogamous.
everyone in Melbourne, since moving back from London, every single Melbourne North side is in an they put their sexual preference or their relationship preference as ethically non-monogamous. And I'm just like unless it's someone who's like partnered and like, you know, they'll say those things and they're using the right terminology and stuff. But sometimes it's just like these blokes that are like bogan guys. And I'm like, you can just say that you're not looking for a relationship. Like, you don't have to. And also, like, they're the kind of guy that, and this is just big, this is a broad stroke, but like the kind of guy that if their partner was to go and sleep with someone else, they would hate that.
Yes,
it's more like about them and having their cake and eating it too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't think any of my friends are in this kind of like dynamic, but I am a little bit more skeptical. And I know it's like, I just need chill out and be like, oh, you know, everyone's on their own journey and not every man is the same, not every woman's the same, not every person is the same. But I am really skeptical of that. And I kind of want to ask couple whose idea it was. And if it's the man's, I'm like, for some reason, it's immediately a red flag for me.
Yeah.
But if it's the woman's idea, I'm like, I feel like this is on your terms and the communication's going to be good. Everything's going to be open. Everyone's going to be safe and happy.
Yeah.
But if there's the other party is in control of this ship, I'm very scared.
Who is driving this
Who's
ship?
driving the ship?
Who's manning the sails?
Yeah, seriously. That's a scary thought.
I also wanted to ask you about the concept of lesbian bed death. So I heard this from a couple of my friends who are like in their 40s and they're both lesbians, and they were saying that like once like there's a trap that some lesbians fall into, and I don't know if it's a stereotype or not, but they were convinced that it's completely true, is like you become such good friends that you kind of, and because a lot of women are like, there's this concept of responsive desire. So in Emily Nagoski's book Come As You Are, she talks about how like there's like responsive desire and then impulsive desire, and men are more prone to like impulsive desire. So in like a heterosexual relationship, the man would like, it's not just a stereotype that the men always instigate sex, because it's just like the two different types. Like, and for me, I feel like I don't often, the mood doesn't just strike me, and if it does, I might like be alone or be like somewhere random. But like, then it's like if I'm with like my boyfriend or whatever, it's not like I just, you know, especially once you've been together for like 4 years or something, you kind of just do it whenever they want to or you both want to. It's not like I'd ever just be like, oh my God, let's go do it right now, which I think is like super common. So if we're talking about a relationship that is both women and you're both more of a responsive desire type, do you think that that concept rings true? And have you experienced that or heard that from other lesbian people?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the responsive thing is very, very interesting because and also like, the friendship, it kind of also plays into like what we were saying before about like, you know, women kind of like not making the first move and like things moving really slowly. I think that being such good friends can be tricky because you are sometimes it can sometimes go the other way where like you get along so well with another gay woman and you're like, are we in love?
Yeah.
Do we want to fuck?
Are we in love, or is there a sexual element to this relationship?
Yeah. And on the flip side, it's like if you there's so much sexual chemistry, and then but you're also like really, really good friends. That can be really, really good. But I think it's when you're, I think we were saying when we caught up not long ago that there's a very clear end to straight sex. Oh, not always, but
that's the thing. Like when, I mean, it's not a good thing necessarily that sex ends when the guy comes, but it's sort of like at least there's sometimes like a line in the sand when you're like, okay, this could end now. But like a lot of people don't see sex as like doing it for the pleasure of it. It's having sex to have an orgasm. It's like drinking to get drunk. You know what I mean? It's sort of like they're not just doing it and then blue balling themselves and then going to work, you know? Like it's kind of like, And I guess that dynamic must be so different with lesbian relationships because you don't have that like, and it's so like typical and it's so fucking anti-feminist, but it is just a reality when you sleep with a man. You know?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's so true. Like I feel like that would be, if you're conditioned to think like that's generally when it ends, then it's like, oh, you could conceivably, first of all, there's someone who is horny just randomly for no reason. And so they're probably going to initiate. And so you're like, okay, cool. And then you're like, well, we could have a quickie. And it's like, it literally could be like 2 minutes. But if you have two people who are more responsive and they need, or like generally are kind of more turned on when someone is hitting on them or like initiating with them and then they slowly get into the mood, but then you're like, it's going to take it. If you know your partner very well and you can help them finish within like minutes, then cool. But if it's like it takes someone a little bit longer.
It's so mental for women.
It's very like, mental for women, exactly.
You need to be in the right headspace. Like, well, I definitely need to be in the right headspace. I need to be like thinking about the right things. If I've got like work in 20 minutes, I'll be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to be late. And then it's like, well, that's never going to happen. Like I'm never going to finish now because I'm just thinking about something else. Or it's just because of time limit. I'm like, I feel stressed. Like,
totally. You need no time limit. You need that on your side. So you need time on your side. You need someone to initiate. And then, like a kind of like a clear finish, which I guess is where the time thing comes from. But it's like, but the good thing is I think that there's that element because when you're sleeping with a woman, you both want to finish. Like you want to make sure that both of you are having a good time.
And then if you run out of time and you're like, oh great, guess we'll just go to work. Like,
it's a weird feeling when you're like, when I I don't know if this is too much information, and I'm sorry to my girlfriend if it is,
fine.
but the first time we slept together, it was like we were at it for like a couple of hours, and then I didn't know her well enough to know how to finish it off.
Yeah, and you need to learn. That's why like having a one night stand, it's usually shit.
Yeah,
it's like you don't know how to do it with that person.
Totally,
you need to figure it out.
Yeah, but yeah, it was so funny because like I was like going for it, and then she was like, I think I'm finished now, and I was like, oh, okay, let's have a little cuddle.
Yeah,
it was like that was it. There was no Like there was no like
she's like, okay,
ending, you know, there was no like big like
like a fireworks moment. Yeah, and then you're like, okay, done now.
I guess we're finished now.
Yeah.
But I think I'm hoping with the relationship I'm in now that doesn't happen because there's honestly like I think I must be what's the other one? Not responsive. Impulsive. Yeah. Because the second I even kind of think of her, or like it's happening right now, I'm like,
where is she?
I need to bring her here right now. That's my rider. I need her here right now. But I think I think it depends, and it doesn't have to be this way. I feel like we're talking about this thing, and it has to be like, you know, but lesbian death doesn't have to happen because I feel like if you're even like a routine person, if you're like, oh, we're going to go on dates every Friday night or something, and you just know that sex comes before or after, then you're kind of like, without even thinking about it, you're kind of like already kind of getting into the mood. And like say like you set a thing once a month where you're like, let's try like eating chocolate out of each other's belly button or something. Like every, you know, you're kind of like, let's somehow make.
It's like making it a priority in your relationship, I guess, and just making time for it and stuff. But then, I guess life and stuff gets in the way. That's like, I mean, everyone says this about any long-term relationship or marriage, right? It's just like so classic, but.
I know, isn't it? And it's like, it shouldn't be because I'm thinking if the relationship is at its best when you're literally just crushing on each other. Yeah. And I'm like, what's the point?
That's the thing. It's like if the honeymoon period is like the only good bit. Yeah. Why are we doing that?
Why are we doing
this? Let's just break up.
Yeah. Like financially we don't really need anymore. And like for companionship, like, you know, friends are more secure, more like definitely like kind of, no one's breaking up with you, you know? And they can have many and you can have many. No one's getting jealous. Like friends are hopefully forever. Yeah. And then that's like your companionship, and then you can just like masturbate, and then you're fine. I feel like
that is also the appeal of like polyamory for me. It's like kind of like you can have a long-term relationship and have a companion, and then it's like, oh, if I want the excitement part, like the honeymoon part, you can still go and have that, but you still have like your ride or die person. True. You know, like I don't know. I feel like. But then I just couldn't be me.
No, I'm very monogamous, and this is the thing about polyamory and like there are people that are polyamorous. I'm not, but I'm also like if I ever get to a point in the current relationship where I'm no longer excited, then I'm like well, that's fine for me. Like I'm gonna just like leave it, you know? Yeah. But not to say like it's that easy. It's just that I have this one person, and I will make it a lifelong commitment. Well, for as long as we're together, a commitment to forever be excited and nervous and all these things with that one person. And if that just like for some reason doesn't happen, like the honeymoon period is not ending, and then if it does, or if it has to or whatever, I'm like, well, I've got my friends and I don't need, you know.
Yeah, being happily single is very empowering. And awesome. Yeah, I'm so happily single right now. I'm like, got my friends, got my family, got my cool job that I invented, and I'm just like, whatever.
Emotionally invincible.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
Literally. And then as soon as I get a crush, I'm like, what the actual fuck?
I know it sucks.
I will throw up.
Yeah.
Like,
you just always want to throw up.
Yeah, it's sickening.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
yes,
we've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming on the pod. This was so fun and so enlightening.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Glad. Bye, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all those things.